Hey everyone, glad you're here and thanks for joining us on the Covenant Community Moment. Today we're looking at the difference between gifted and anointed. Have you ever heard something that you've actually heard many times before, but this time it grabbed you by the throat and just wouldn't let go? Well, I recently heard a woman talking on the issue of gifted versus anointed, and it immediately resonated with me. I'd like to take a few moments to discuss this, but first we should take a quick look at some definitions from a biblical perspective. The word gifted does not appear in the King James translation, but it's in the New Living Translation 7 times, and it deals with the idea of to abound or exist in abundance, as in the sentence, Barbara's ability to sing exists in abundance. Now, anointed is 98 times in the King James and 83 in the NIV, and it deals with set aside for God's use. Too many in God's church are content to simply walk in their gifting and won't give God room enough to help them walk in their anointing. I believe I'm on good ground here in arguing that it's largely a combination of fear and complacency that keeps so many of us at that place. What am I talking about? Well, with regard to fear, we are fearful of the process it takes to walk in one's anointing. Think about that for a second. As you know, and in order to have olive oil, some olives have to be crushed. If grapes are ever going to become wine, there must be a crushing of some grapes. And if we're honest, there aren't many of us who go around looking to be crushed. That's why God so often has to just bring it to us. The crushing comes out of nowhere, and it can feel devastating, even overwhelming, but it's usually necessary in order to get out of us what's inside of us. As for complacency, it's easy for us to get comfortable in the familiar. We love the warmth of our comfort zone. Unfortunately, though, the comfort zone is exactly what can lead us to complacency. Years ago, a sign on the wall of a place where I worked said, "Complacency is devastating." Now, at the time, I understood that statement from an intellectual perspective. It was saying if you settle for where you are, you'll never get ahead. But looking at it now through the lens of faith, that phrase hits me at a more meaningful level. Complacency can keep me from accomplishing the specific purpose God has laid out for my life, the purpose for which He has set me apart. Now, don't get me wrong, there's really nothing the matter with gifting in and of itself. There are millions of gifted people who fill the world with music and art and poetry and prose, and they can move us to laughter and tears and incredible levels of inspiration. But that's not anointing. God says in Isaiah 10 that anointing, His anointing, can destroy those things that hold us back and pin us down and keep us from fulfilling what He set us apart for. Our gifting might be used while we're operating in God's anointing, but it's not the same as anointing. Using a gift that we have in abundance is not the same as operating in the context of what God has set us apart to do. I need you to hear this. The gifting in your life does not have the power of the anointing on your life. Your gifting might spark a smile, but it's the anointing that can set a fire in somebody's soul. Your gifting might make you popular, but it's the anointing that will make you useful. Your gifting might move people's emotions, but it's the anointing that can move mountains. Your gifting might fill a room, but it's the anointing that can change the lives in the room. So listen, I'm encouraging you today to ask God to show you the purpose for which He has set you apart from the crowd. Ask Him to help you walk in the anointing on your life, and your life will never be the same. Hey, thanks so much for checking us out today. And stay tuned for some really big news about our next move coming real soon. In the meantime, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and IG. And we'll see you next time with another Covenant Community Moment.